On a major holiday meant for celebration, a 17-year-old boy named Surya Chauhan received a phone call. It was his childhood friend, Asad, asking to meet up. Trusting a boy he grew up with, Surya stepped out of his house and walked directly into a fatal ambush. Asad surrounded Surya with two accomplices and reportedly taunted him, asking if he had ever seen a goat being sacrificed for Eid. Eyewitnesses say Asad then attacked with a knife, twisting the blade to maximize internal damage. The assault left Surya with a severed liver and shredded intestines. He collapsed and died shortly after being rushed to a hospital in Noida. This happened in the Navneet Vihar area of Ghaziabad, a dense urban pocket where communities live in close proximity. The raw violence of the act immediately sent shockwaves through the local streets, as neighbors struggled to process how a childhood friendship could end in a public slaughter. The police placed a 50,000 rupee bounty on Asad and launched a joint operation involving multiple precincts. 3 days after the murder, at 4 a.m., they cornered him. Officials state that Asad opened fire with a makeshift pistol, and in the ensuing exchange, he was shot and killed by the police. The murder occurred on Eid al-Adha, the Islamic festival of sacrifice. For a Hindu teenager to be killed by his Muslim neighbors on this holiday introduced a dangerous communal element to the local grief. From a legal standpoint, Assad's death in the encounter closed the case file. But by killing the primary suspect, the state also eliminated the only person who could provide a definitive motive. That silence created an information vacuum, and 3 distinct factions immediately rushed in to fill it. The first explanation came from initial police reports, which suggested the murder was the result of a petty dispute over a motorcycle. The theory was that Surya refused to let Asad ride his bike, sparking a fatal grudge. Many locals found this logic thin. The extreme nature of the internal injuries pointed to a deeper rage than a joyride dispute would explain. Furthermore, police named Assad's 45-year-old father as an accomplice, alleging he actively encouraged the attack, a degree of involvement rarely seen in teenage arguments over property. A second narrative emerged when a spokesperson for the Samajwadi Party proposed a motive rooted in family honor. The claim was that Surya had developed a friendship with Assad's sister, which the family found unacceptable. The tension was reportedly so high that Assad's family moved to a different neighborhood to break the bond, yet the two teenagers continued to communicate. An honor dispute framework provides a motive proportional to the extreme violence used on the street. It accounts for why a father would allegedly sanction the brutal murder of his son's childhood friend to protect the family's perceived standing. While this theory offers a psychological explanation for the brutality, its origin from a political opposition party makes it difficult to verify. It remains an unproven claim used to challenge the official police version of events. While local leaders debated family honor, national media outlets focused on a third narrative: premeditated communal hatred. Right-wing activists and news channels emphasized the sacrifice taunt heard by witnesses. They also amplified claims that local residents in the majority Muslim neighborhood deliberately turned their CCTV cameras away from the street to ensure the killers wouldn't be filmed, suggesting the crime was a coordinated community effort. Hindu organizations held protests in Ghaziabad, demanding that the state bypass the courts and move directly to bulldozer actions against the families of the accused. For these groups, the murder was proof of a broader, systemic threat. In contrast, the Congress Party used the event to condemn the state's reliance on extrajudicial encounters. They argued that killing suspects like Asad is a tactic used to bypass the constitutional right to a trial and hide the failures of local law enforcement. National religious agendas and political party lines now dictated the conversation, transforming a local homicide into a proxy war. The specific details of Surya Chauhan's death were subsumed by a larger struggle over communal identity and the ethics of state-sanctioned violence. This escalation traces back to the immense pressure on Uttar Pradesh law enforcement to deliver rapid resolutions. Under the current state leadership, there is a clear prioritization of swift, lethal action to project an image of absolute control over crime. But when a complex murder ends in a 4 a.m. shootout rather than a courtroom, we have to ask if the evidence is being revealed or permanently buried. We're left with 3 distinct causal pathways: a motorcycle dispute, an honor killing, and a communal hate crime. Because Asad is dead, these pathways can never converge on a legal truth. The only person who could confirm the motive has been silenced before he could ever take the stand. This creates a motiveless void. Without a trial to establish a public record, politicians and media personalities are free to fill that empty space with whatever theory suits their agenda. There is no longer a suspect to contradict them, allowing the tragedy to be weaponized indefinitely. In a polarized environment, a crime is rarely allowed to be just a crime. It is treated as raw material for a larger narrative battle. When the state chooses the finality of an encounter over the slow process of a trial, the victim's true story is lost in the noise forever.